The old diner clock ticked louder than usual. Maybe because Mark had already checked it 3 times in the last 10 minutes. Maybe because he hadn't felt this nervous since the day his son was born. Mark adjusted the collar of his flannel shirt, staring at his reflection in the diner window. He hadn't dressed up, he didn't believe in putting on a show for anyone. But now he wished he'd at least shaved. His 10-year-old son, Jacob, sat across the booth, his eyes bright, cheeks flushed with excitement. "Dad, she's gonna love this place." Jacob beamed. "It's got the best fries in the whole town." The Mark forced a smile. "Hope so, buddy," but inside, he wasn't so sure. Her. The mystery woman his son had invited to dinner without telling him until the last minute. "She's really cool, Dad, super nice. And smart. She helped me with my science project." That's all he'd said. What Mark hadn't expected was that this woman, whoever she was, had accepted, and now here he was, a single father who barely scraped by fixing cars at his own struggling garage, about to meet a woman he didn't know and didn't ask for. Jacob jumped up, waving.
"Miss Elena!"
"Over here." Mark turned, and that's when he saw her. Tall, graceful, in a sleek navy coat and polished boots, she had presence, the kind that made people notice even when she wasn't trying. Her smile lit up the room as she approached their booth. "Jacob," she said warmly, giving him a little hug. Then she turned to Mark, extending must be Jacob's dad. "I'm Elena." Mark stood slowly, wiping his palm on his jeans before shaking hers. "Mark, nice to meet you." Her handshake was firm. Confident, they sat down. Jacob bounced between them, rattling off stories about school, his science project, how Elena had helped him understand circuits and voltages in a way he never had before. Mark listened, watching, trying to figure her out. She didn't act like someone with an agenda. But there was something about her, her poise, her confidence, that made him uneasy. He'd been burned before, he'd trusted the wrong people. His ex-wife, for one, who had left when Jacob was barely 5. Said she wasn't cut out for the mom life. He'd raised Jacob alone since. "So," Mark finally asked during a lull in the conversation, "how do you know Jacob?" Elena smiled. "I'm part of a mentorship program his school launched recently. I volunteer on weekends." "Volunteer?" Mark raised an eyebrow. "You got time, Vat?" She chuckled. "I make time. Work is important. But giving back matters too." Mark nodded slowly, still skeptical. The waitress brought their food. Jacob dove into his fries. Elena ordered a salad. Mark stuck to his usual, a burger medium rare. "So, what do you do?" he asked casually. Elena paused, setting her fork down. "I'm in tech. I run a company." "Like management?" he probed. She hesitated for half a second. "Something like that." Mark nodded. But didn't push. Maybe she was a department head or something. Seemed nice enough. Still, he didn't like surprises. And this felt like one. After dinner, Jacob insisted on getting ice cream. Elena laughed and obliged, walking hand in hand with the boy to the small corner shop across the street. Mark watched them. The way Jacob looked at her. Trusted her, like he hadn't looked at anyone a long time. That night, after Jacob had fallen asleep, Mark found himself staring at the ceiling. Why had she come? What did she really want? He wasn't used to people showing up without wanting something in return. Days passed, then weeks. Elena showed up again. This time at Jacob's school science fair. She stood next to him proudly as he presented their project, a solar-powered battery charger. The judges were impressed. Mark had come too, standing awkwardly in the back, watching. She wasn't just pretending. She genuinely seemed to care about Jacob. After the event, she walked up to Mark. "I'm glad you came," she said. "I almost didn't." Mark replied honestly. She smiled. "Because of me." Mark nodded. "Look, I appreciate what you're doing for Jacob. Really, but I don't get it. Why us? You could have picked any kid to help." Elena's expression softened. "Because when I was Jacob's age, someone believed in me. A teacher. He gave me his time when I had nothing, no money, no direction. That changed my life." Mark blinked. You didn't grow up with money." She shook her head. "Not even close. Single mom. Worked 3 jobs. I built everything from scratch." Mark stared at her. This woman he had misjudged. "You built a tech company." She hesitated again, then finally said, "I'm the CEO of Envatech." Mark's mouth dropped. "That the green energy startup? You're on the cover of that magazine in my mechanic's lounge." She laughed gently. "Yeah. That's me." Mark rubbed the back of his neck. "Why didn't you say anything?" "I didn't want you to judge me before you knew me," she said simply. Mark looked down. Embarrassed. "Guilty. I did anyway," he admitted. "I thought, I don't know. You were too polished. Too perfect. I thought maybe you were playing a game." She touched his arm gently. "Mark, I'm not here for you, cub. But I also see how hard you've worked to raise him. And that matters." He looked at her, seeing her differently now. Not just as a CEO, but as someone who understood struggle. Who understood sacrifice. Weeks turned into months. Elena became a part of their lives, not in a rushed or forced way, but slowly, naturally. She attended Jacob's baseball games, brought over science kits, shared dinner at their modest home. She never flaunted her wealth. never made Mark feel small, and Jacob thrived. His grades shot up, his confidence soared, he smiled more, laughed more, and every time Mark saw that a quiet voice inside him whispered that maybe, just maybe, this woman was meant to be in their lives. One rainy evening, after dinner at their home, Jacob had gone to bed and Alina lingered in the kitchen. Mark handed her a cup of tea. "You ever think of having a family of your own?" he asked. She looked out the window. "I used to. But I buried myself in work. Told myself it wasn't time, and now." She smiled at him. "Now. I think maybe I was just waiting for the right people." Mark's heart skipped a beat. A year later, in a small, cozy wedding with just a handful of guests, Mark and Elena exchanged vows. Jacob stood proudly beside them, grinning from ear to ear. Mark had never imagined this life. Never imagined that a woman who could had anyone, anywhere, would choose. Single dad. A man who had nothing but love to give. But she did, and in return, he gave her everything. Because sometimes the people we hesitate to let in are the very ones meant to change our lives forever. Moral of the story: don't judge people by what they appear to be or what you assume about their world. Sometimes, the right people walk into your life not to take something away, but to bring you the love and healing you didn't even know you were missing.